today I'm actually going to talk about what I get paid to do, and maybe a little bit of what I don't get paid to do, but maybe in the future. So I am a professional aquarist or professional fish keeper, and a professional is someone that gets paid to do what they do. So I get paid to keep fish. I also get paid to sell fish, unbox fish, sort of import via sort of thing, and stuff like that. And behind me, if anyone's wondering, these are Stenker discus. They're from so yeah, you can see they're quite pretty, and yes, I did get them for my work. So people will always come up to me when I'm at work and they're like, oh, I really want to do what you do, I really want to work with fish. And actually I started in a pretty different way to a lot of people, I would say. So I started in the aquarium industry when I was 18, and I was doing my A-levels. So I was in my second year of A-levels, and I did 3 years doing A-levels. And I was studying biology, geography, graphic art in the first year, dropped that, and also environmental sciences. So I saw a job, and you know what you should always do with jobs? Just send your CV in. Send a CV and a cover letter. And I've been keeping fish a few years by then, so it wasn't like something totally like I had no idea what I was doing. I'd kept a wide variety of freshwater fishes, and that's why I specialise in freshwater fishes. And at that time I actually hadn't really got into catfishes. So at that time I was keeping mostly dwarf cichlids. I'll put that down, otherwise I'm going to drink way too much. Well, way too quickly anyway. So I had worked at a small independent, and I got the job, a part-time job, while I was studying my A-levels. A-levels are like, they're a high school degree, and I already had got GCSEs, which is before that maybe. So that's 16 for GCSEs, and so 18 for A-levels. Is it not focusing? So I got the job. I guess they were kind of, it might have been a bit of a pity thing. I was very young to get into the industry. Well, they're actually saying that a lot of people do start at 17, 18, but I hadn't got any fish keeping qualifications. I have zilch. I don't have the water ones. I don't have BTEC. I don't have anything like that in fish keeping. I had just been keeping fish. And I think that's the most important thing. And when you're applying, say what fish you've kept and really show your interest in fish keeping. It doesn't matter what qualifications you have, because a lot of them don't really care when you want to get into the fish industry as in the retail side of it. Other sides, then it might vary. So once I've been doing that, I did it for 2 years. So I had started my degree. I did my degree at University of Southampton, specialising or doing biology and specialising in more zoology. And so halfway through that, because I worked for an independent, it was mainly focused in pond maintenance. So I did maintain the whole. Accidentally pressed on the pause button. I maintained the whole shop, and then I kind of, I looked after the fish, I looked after the shop. I never really did ordering, so that was something more recent. And then that business was more maintenance, and it did have financial issues, so they closed down the shop area. I then moved to a semi-independent, and I would say once you got your foot in, it's really easy to get other jobs in the retail sector, and not many people actually move between different stores. I've noticed that a lot of people tend to stay stuck with one company, and I think it gives you a whole spectrum of different ideas and different ways of keeping and stuff like that if you work in a variety of different stores. And it you deal with different customers. So the first 2 stores I worked in, they had marines and ponds and all of that. So the second store I worked at had reptiles as well, and it was an experience I might talk about one day, but it was a different kind of systems. And by the time I finished, I was in my 3rd year of my degree, and I had by then specialised almost entirely in catfishes, and I'd been going to catfish study group convention, which I think is really important if you want to somehow get into really getting into the depth of fishes. Is joining a society, joining a club. And one of the most important things for me is actually joining like the internet community, but kind of doing a wide spectrum of groups, because you'll find the best ones hopefully eventually. And I actually got my volunteering at one of the biggest museums in the UK through Facebook groups, and I specialise actually, so it's not really anything like, I'm not a professional because I'm a volunteer, but I help curate the catfishes at the museum. So they're practically in this state in a jar. Some are 200 years old, and I maintain whether their alcohol levels, make sure they're labelled correctly. None of mine here are labelled. These are all ones that I own, I've made myself, a bit like DIY. But so yeah, you can see, so that gave me a lot of scope, and it depends what avenues you want to go through. If you want to go through science, there's a lot more sort of, you have to get a lot more experience, a lot more knowledge, and also have a bigger CV, if you get what I mean. So then I also did a talk for a catfish study group, and this was not paid. I didn't want to be paid because it felt like such an honour, and I did it about sort of fish at this museum. The catfish is there, so loads of photos and everything. Some people might have gone, and I always felt like, because I'm not a breeder, I don't breed fishes, I don't really enjoy it, so I'm a little bit not very well known, so it kind of felt like, wow. So I did that, and when I did that talk, I was actually finished my degree. So I finished my degree in 2019, and to be honest, you don't need a degree to be a professional in fish keeping. You don't need a degree to do that, just because it's more all about experience and knowledge, and that you can get from other places. I will say that a degree does give you access to different aspects of knowledge and science, but you could get that anyway being an amateur. It just makes it easier to do it if you have a degree. You know how to research, how to read papers. So I had to move because I went to do a master's. So my master's is in biosystematics at Imperial College London, joint with the Natural History Museum, and I did do a project with Zoological Society of London, and that was studying corals. I'm not a coral person. I don't like marines. I don't keep marines. You won't get me keeping marines. I would like a cuttlefish. I really like cephalopods. I love mollusks. I've got my snails there, and I've got a video coming out about my snails because I'm that boring that I keep pet snails. So yeah, so I started that, and that really, a master's is more definitely if you want to aim at going further into the science. And I did, so that led on to what I was paid to do, and I was paid to actually write an article, and this is my first article that I wrote. I don't have the second because it comes out in a few weeks. So I got, through Facebook, there's a whole community of people, and if you get just put yourself out there, I would say. The more you put yourself out there, the more you learn, and the more you push yourself to learn is really important. And do loads of research, because if your name gets out there, people will be like, oh, you should check out this person, and it will help even in the sort of oh, there it is. It will help in all aspects. So I actually got asked, or I kind of volunteered to write this. So this is my first article, and this is on a species I talk about all the time, and anyone that knows me on Facebook will know that I go on and on and on, and this species almost drives me mad because it's so not suitable for aquariums in a way. But so I wrote this, and this was kind of the species I thought loads of people want it. I'll write about that because there's a gap in knowledge, and it's almost people don't research it, so can't see any of the words but this is the article, and it's on Baronsisch's Xanthellus, the gold nugget pleco, and that's what, oh sorry, so I wrote that back last year during COVID when I was actually on furlough, so I wrote that, and that is through getting myself, like putting myself out there to get, just to talk to people, even if you end up disagreeing, try and work around, like sort of, if you end up disagreeing, that's fine. If you end up being wrong, that's fine too. I'm wrong all the time. I might identify something and it'd be completely different. And I do specialise more in identifications, and like I always say, specialise. You're only going to be really good in a certain group of things, and the more you specialise, the better it is. So I specialise in laurel cards, they're my scientific interest. Specialising is really important. So I have written a scientific paper. I'm not a professional scientist. I don't really count myself entirely as an amateur. I know there was a Wikipedia page that said something that I was a ichthyologist, and I'm like, I'd like to be there, but one day. So there's a lot to do in this trade and hobby. YouTube isn't all. You can be knowledgeable and work in the industry. A lot of knowledgeable people work in the industry. A lot of people work in the store. So you might be going to the aquarium store and like talking to someone. You might disagree with them, but just because they work in retail doesn't mean they know less than you. A lot of the top aquarists in the UK have actually worked in retail. A lot of us, well, I'm not going to say us, a lot of them have worked in particular stores, and they're not going to throw their CV out there. I don't actually put my CV out. Yeah, so at the moment now, I work in I would say it is a chain. Chains can be really good. They can be great for access to species. Now the store has obviously Stenker discus, it has wild discus, it has lorocarid, we have knifefish, we have gymnotus, we have statogenes, we have African characins, a variety of puffers. So don't just think of your typical like store where there's a lot more limited species. Independent chains can be brilliant, and I think don't be discouraged from retail, don't be discouraged from putting yourself out there, and don't judge those that you see in the store because they might know more than you, and that does happen. I've met most of the people I know actually, I think, have worked in the industry, and you kind of, there's only so much you can say anyway, but so yeah, and I would say also, yeah, keep an eye out on different species. The industry is great for learning about a variety of species. So if I didn't work in the industry, I wouldn't have really had any experience of discus. I started off looking after wild discus, and then the Stenkers came in. So yeah, anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll probably, next video might be on knife fishes. I've got lorocarid videos planned, but anyway, thank you for